One of the most fundamental features of praying mantises is that the females are bigger than the males. This is true in every species with regard to weight, and in almost every species with regard to body length. I don't think wings should count. But if you've kept multiple mantises, you've probably noticed that each individual isn't quite the same size, and that some take longer to grow and mature than others. You may even have been frustrated by male mantises maturing and dying faster than females, making the breeding of same-aged animals difficult or impossible. Today, we'll discuss the growth rates of mantises and how you, as a keeper, can adjust them. Before that, though, I want to briefly explain this difference between males and females, sexual size dimorphism, a little more. This is an ancestral trait present in the mantis's closest relatives, the cockroaches, where females are also almost always larger than males. Size dimorphism helps establish different lifestyles between the sexes. The female mantis's goals are to stay safe, consume as much food as possible, and lay as many eggs as possible. Larger size helps her achieve all these dreams. She's more formidable against predators. She can catch larger prey, and her bigger body can produce and hold more eggs. Conversely, a male mantis doesn't need to live his full lifespan or to feed as much as he can. To be successful, he only needs to find one or more females and father as many offspring as possible. Being lightweight allows him to spend less energy moving, especially flying, as he searches for mates. A smaller size may also benefit a male mantis in sneaking up to a female, making it slightly harder for her to grab him off her back if she decides to eat him, and improving genetic diversity by reducing the likelihood that an early maturing small male mates with his sisters. Some mantises embrace these ideals more than others, with females who are many times larger than males. The most famous of these is the orchid mantis, Hymenopus coronatus, and its close relatives, Helvia cardinalis and Theopropus species. Many other mantises belonging to diverse families have also developed extreme dimorphism. This suggests that it's a successful strategy, as it has evolved and persisted multiple times. In a chicken or egg kind of scenario, we've sometimes speculated how the mantis sexes came to be so drastically different. By comparing male and female sizes within the flower mantis family Hymenopodidae, mantis researcher Gavin Svensson has found that it's most likely the female orchids and their close relatives who became abnormally huge, while their males stayed within a more normal range of size and proportion for the family. In the context of the orchid mantis's sedentary, mimicry-based bee and butterfly hunting lifestyle, this makes a lot of sense to me. Usually, female mantises get bigger by going through more molts than males. For many species, females have one additional molt. For some with greater dimorphism, it's two or possibly even three. However, there seem to be certain species which reverse this trend. The Australian Pseudomantis albofimbriata males take more molts to reach adulthood, even though they're still smaller than the females. Now that we've covered why the mantis sexes are different sizes, let's get down to what this means for us as keepers. There are two main dials to turn on growth rate: the diet and the temperature. Feeding a mantis less typically results in slower growth, while feeding more results in faster growth. Similarly, lower temperatures slow growth, while higher temperatures speed it up. Combining changes in both these aspects will greatly change the growth rate, while changing just one will change it to a lesser degree. However, there are dangers and possible unintended consequences to doing this, so adjusting your mantis's growth must not be done naively. Let's begin talking about slowing. Most mantis species do not require any slowing in order to breed individuals of similar age. Males may mature faster than females, often having one fewer molt, but it's not so significant that the males will die before they can breed. For species with two fewer molts, however, these are the cases where slowing the males just a little can be very helpful. I try to sex these species as early as possible, at the second or third instar, but you shouldn't slow them down at this age. Fourth instar mantises are much more stable and safer to slow. Feed these mantises less often than you normally would. If you usually feed every 3 days, feed your slowing subjects every 4 days instead. Give them slightly smaller prey as well, maybe two smaller roaches instead of one big one. You don't want to malnourish them. That'll have health consequences and very possibly lead to fertility problems too. The abdomen of a slowed male mantis shouldn't look thin or empty all the time, but it shouldn't be filled full. Keep them at a middle weight. With regard to temperature, keep slowed males at the lower end of their species temperature range. If you go too low, the mantises will have difficulty molting or develop gut infections from improper digestion. Never keep a mantis at temperatures below its healthy range for more than a day or two. But if your species should live at 72 to 85 degrees, for example, you can slow your males down by keeping them at, say, 72 to 75. Treat them this way only as long as you need to for the females to catch up or get ahead in growth. Once you know that your males will have plenty of time to breed, return them to their usual temperatures and feeding schedules so that they can be in peak condition. You're probably already thinking about how to speed up females by doing the opposite. And you're probably right. Probably give yourself a pat on the back. You can speed up a female mantis by feeding her as much as she'll eat. Don't be afraid to get her abdomen completely full a couple times through the instar. And keep her at the warmer end of the temperature range. With that previous example of a 72 to 85 degree range, her temps shouldn't drop below 76. Speeding up is not without its dangers, though, and you must be careful not to let a mantis overheat. Too high temperatures will kill them even faster than too cold temperatures. Also, with frequent feeding comes the danger that prey will be in the enclosure when the mantis molts. Be vigilant for signs that your mantis will be molting soon, and we've talked about that in another video. And make sure that you stop feeding her when she stops wanting to be fed. Even a sped up female shouldn't be eating every day. Speeding up and slowing down mantises takes practice. It's always best to start small and make minor adjustments to their schedules. Observe the effects and make changes as necessary. But remember, these are living animals. They're relying on you for their good care. Learning how to safely adjust their growth is a necessary part of keeping some of the most difficult mantis species around. And the more people who know how to do it, the more potential breeders of orchids, Peruvian leaves, and Papuan blue Herodula there will be. We're not done yet, though. There are two other aspects of modulating growth rates that I want to talk about. If you want the biggest possible or the longest lived mantis, keep listening till the end. Size in insects is a bit unusual. Most animals follow a trend known as Bergmann's rule, the principle that animals from cooler regions grow bigger than examples of the same species from warmer ones. This rule is broadly applicable throughout mammals and birds, and has been found in some amphibians and vertebrates too. However, insects are frequently known to ignore or defy Bergmann's rule. Some other species that I breed, such as katydids and stick insects, grow significantly larger when kept at high temperatures. These insects, as well as many beetle and moth examples, also reach their largest sizes when they feed as frequently as possible and on highly nutritious food. We have little data on how mantis growth relates to temperature, and only a little empirical evidence of mantis body size being a direct consequence of feeding. Beckman and Hurd's 2003 study on pollen supplementation of mantis diets suggests that the largest body sizes in mantises are achieved when they feed on as much prey as they want, and when that prey is highly nutritious. In this study, it was through protein-rich pollen. With these lines of evidence, combined with the fact that many of the largest mantis specimens known to science are wild-caught individuals, exposed to naturally fluctuating temperatures, often higher than in our homes, and a diverse assortment of prey, it seems likely that these two factors are related to increased mantis size. Don't be totally discouraged, though. I and other breeders do sometimes raise captive bred mantises that are bigger than their parents, even bigger than some wild ones, and individual size varies greatly in the wild as well. What we've discussed in this episode is most relevant to breeders. If you keep just one or two mantises as pets, I think you'll be even more interested in this next bit. Lifespan. How do you get your mantis to live as long as possible? Well, let's return to the principles of slowing down males. Normally, you would bring them back to warm temperatures and more frequent feeding once they've been slowed down enough. But what if you didn't? This female giant shield, Rhombodera megera, has lived to see her nieces and nephews mature. At around 14 months old, she has spent 9 of those months as an adult. Her sisters all lived more normal lifespans, from 5 to 7 months as adults. But here are her secrets. This female has been in my living room, kept much cooler than the animal room. Her temperature range is around 68 at night to 74 at day, instead of 72 to 82 for her sisters. She eats a dubia roach or a couple of adult red runners every 1 or 2 weeks, unlike her sisters who are filled to full multiple times. Those differences explain her special longevity, but they aren't the only things that influence great lifespans. Regardless of temperature and feeding, these other factors can help your mantis live to its fullest potential. Keep them well hydrated. We've discussed this in other videos, and I'll say it again here. Whether through misting or healthy, well-fed prey, ideally both, hydration is so important to a mantis's lifespan and function. Good perching surfaces are also critical. Breaking a foot or two shortens a mantis's potential lifespan tremendously. And you can keep those feet healthy by letting them perch on soft surfaces like fiberglass screen, shelf liner, and best of all, safe natural plants. Finally, invisible genetic factors almost certainly come into play too, but we can't control those. We each have to do the best for our mantis with what we can control.